guess the quiet means I'm supposed to start. Welcome. My name is Mitchell Kaplan, and I'm really happy to be here moderating this very, very important panel this afternoon. But I have two apologies to make. One is I am not Al Roker, as you can tell. And the second apology is I'm a little jet-lagged. I was traveling...
Mitch, you never make any sense anyway.
That's true. So I just want to put those two things out there. But we're here for a really, really celebratory experience this afternoon. When James Patterson announced in September of 2013 that he'd be giving away $1 million, yes, $1 million, to independent bookstores in 2014, I personally was delighted, as I'm sure all the booksellers were who are out there. Jim has always gotten it. He gets what our independent bookstores mean to our communities and to the greater relationship our country has with books and reading. Here's just a quote that I thought I would give to you, and it's a quote that, you know, I saw come down the line from Jim, and it's kind of the mission statement for this initiative that he's done. Every day, booksellers are out there saving our country's literature. The work they do to support schools and the rest of their communities leaves a lasting love of reading in children and adults. I believe their work is vital to our future as a country. What are we if we don't have our own literature? I couldn't be happier to, very humbly, support booksellers and their mission. Maybe that's because it's my mission as well. So on behalf of booksellers everywhere, I want to thank you for that. And thank you for what you do. I thought what I would do is introduce the other members of the panel up here. And we have Karen West. This is Karen. And Karen is Director of Events.
You never know.
That's the jet lag. Remember, jet lag. Remember I told you that. Karen West is the Director of Events and Conferences for Book Passage, the San Francisco Bay Area's liveliest independent bookstore. One of the liveliest, I have a lot of friends out there as well, one of the liveliest independent bookstores in San Francisco. They curate over 1,000 events per year and 3 major writing conferences. Karen has been in the book business for over 20 years with an emphasis in community relations and diverse programming. Coming from a museum and theater background, Karen is a current member of the Marin Shakespeare Company, and she lives in Lagunitas, California, a small community on the way to Point Reyes, which is a gorgeous place, with her husband and son, where they cultivate a massive hillside garden. David Schallenberger, is co-founder and co-owner of Little Shop of Stories, a children's bookstore located in Decatur, Georgia. This year, Dave is serving as a juror for the National Book Award in the Young People's Literature Division. So any authors out there, this is the guy you need to talk to. Besides becoming a great bookstore for kids and their families, Little Shop is most proud of its role in the development of the Decatur Book Festival, a marvelous festival, the nation's largest independent book festival. Well, I'm with the Miami Book Fair, one of the nation's largest independent book festivals. And on the same page, an annual community-wide family reading initiative. Thank you both for being here. The way we're going to handle this is we're going to just have a sort of a little bit of a discussion. I'm going to speak to Jim for a little while, and then the two booksellers will talk about what they might have done with some of the money that they got. Then we're going to open it to the audience for questions, and some of you who might have gotten some grants might want to tell us what you've done. And then we have a big announcement at the end as well, because the next round of grants will be given and announced this afternoon. And I'm told that if you're here and you've gotten your announcement, you can actually pick up your check this afternoon.
The check will bounce, but you know, one other thing, Mitch, if you're watching on C-SPAN, when the show is over, I want you to go out to an independent bookstore and buy some books.
Yeah. So Jim, let me ask you a question. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, it all goes back to bringing up a kid, our son's 16 now, and just developing him as a reader, and just getting more and more interested in getting more people reading, and getting more involved in studying the business more and paying attention to why people do and don't read. And it just seemed to me that it's so important that we have bookstores in this country where people can go and talk about books and find out about books, and that obviously, you know, we're in a period where that's being threatened, and we're not thinking about it, that area as much as we should. We're not doing as much as we should to help make sure that American literature prospers and actually survives.
And what do you see as the independent's role in this whole dynamic?
Well, I think one of the great things about independence is there's no independent role. They're independents. So they all have a different role, which I think is wonderful, and that depends on who they are. It is their store. They get to make their own decisions, which is terrific. And then where the store is. And it's gonna vary. I mean, obviously in Miami, it's a lot different than it is in Denver, and a lot different than it is in Idaho. So that's the wonderful thing about it. It is it's so local, and local problems and local solutions, and you know, with that continued thing of the continuity that you know, all across this country, we just need to support books and reading.
And I noticed that one of the requirements is that the bookstore have a children's section. So talk a little bit about the role that children's booksellers
Yeah,
play
I mean, that's
as well.
just it's my passion. It's why I started writing, you know, in growing or having Jack grow up before our eyes. My wife Sue is here. I just became aware how hard it is to get kids interested in books, and how important. And I think there are two levels to that for me anyway. One is for kids who are bright and going to be good readers, it's to make them much better readers and get them to think deeper, and also to spread the breadth of what they're reading. Because a lot of kids don't read as widely as they should, and I think it's worse now than it's ever been in terms of you know, not obviously in every household, but in general, kids aren't reading wide enough. And also in this country now, there's just so much black and white thinking as opposed to gray thinking. Things are a lot more complicated if you really get into them. And one of the ways that you get into subjects and find out enough about them to realize how complicated they are is reading. Because most of the stuff you're going to see on television doesn't have that kind of depth. The second thing, second reason why I'm so committed to children, getting children reading, has to do with at-risk kids and kids that if they don't. In my own area, I'd say it's sort of 3rd grade to 8th grade. If we don't get them at that point and make them competent readers, how are they going to get through high school? How are they going to become, you know, good parents themselves? What's going to happen to them after they get out of high school if they don't read well? I mean, basically, they're I don't want to say they're doomed, but it really makes it hard, and it really limits their choices. And that, I think, is a key thing. And that's an area where the country, and even independents can probably do a better job trying to get at those kids. And that's a hard one, but it's so important for this country.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have always talked about developing the next generation of readers. And that's what I think some of what you're doing and what you're trying to do has been so, you focused on it in such a way